Monsignor.
How are you?
I am great. How are you?
I am so happy to be here with you, Tatiana. Probably I would not go elsewhere, but I had to be with you because you asked for this, and I'm happy to do it.
Monsignor Franco, thank you so much, because this is such an honor. It's a pleasure to interview you and to be in your wonderful, wonderful parish.
Yes.
Yes.
I spent 19 years in this beautiful surroundings, this parish, and serving the people. That's the most important thing. And also of the area surrounding here. You know, Westchester County is such a beautiful county, as you do know. Look at the beautiful trees that we have outside, and we will see after the Stations of the Cross, which are a masterpiece. Actually, the Stations of the Cross are now considered to be one of the 10 artistic masterpieces of Westchester County, together with the famous windows of Chagall and so on and so forth, just to give you a glimpse how important that is. So I'm happy to be here with you.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah. You mentioned before that you practically started this parish about 30 years ago.
Well, yes, I was here 30 years ago. Now, that the parish has a long history, but it was not really here. It was in the center of town. And then they moved it here because the road was going through the center of town. And so this is a beautiful spot. We have 35 acres facing the Hudson, so you can imagine how beautiful that is.
Wonderful.
That's really wonderful. And we tried to embellish, you know, whatever we found here. It did not take, you know, only 1 year. There was a concerted efforts with all the people were so kind of, they did a splendid job. They did. The people did.
It's
you know,
beautiful.
that's important.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And the Lady of...
Our Lady of Ossining is here.
Yes.
See?
Yes.
So we have a great devotion, in not only in Ossining, but in Westchester County, we have a great devotion to Our Lady of Ossining, which is right here.
It's beautiful. Now, Monsignor Franco, I would love to ask you, you were born in New York.
Yes.
Can you tell me about your upbringing?
Let me be very, you know, precise in this. I'm a kid from the Bronx. You heard about the Bronx sometimes.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
So the Bronx is part of New York, am I right?
Yes.
You know, so I feel that definitely, even though my life later on took me, I would say, all over the world, you know, but I'm still within me. I'm a kid from the Bronx, and I'm a Yankee fan.
Yes.
I have to be, you know. Cause,
it was a tough neighborhood, but amazing.
That is correct.
Yes, yes.
Then from the Bronx, we moved to Staten Island, which is another part of New York, as you do know, until my father came home one night. We were living in a beautiful place called the Legion Place in Staten Island, and we were very comfortable. But my father came and he said, they are going to build a bridge. And that means that we will be invaded by the Brooklynites, the people from Brooklyn.
I heard.
And sure enough, it was. So we moved to New Jersey, Middletown, New Jersey, just to give you a glimpse of my family, naturally. But then by that time, I was already around the world, you know, doing other things.
But what are your roots, like your parents?
But naturally, my parents are
what is your heritage?
Real Italian. Actually, it's interesting that you mentioned this, because my father came here when he was very young. I am now very proud to possess something that I found not long ago. Among, like, we have, as you do know, we have so many family memories and naturally documents relating to our families. We always have in every family, am I right? And I was so touched when I found most probably was the first American passport of my father.
Oh.
And that was 1927, a long time ago. Yes. He had come here because he wanted to start a paper for the immigrants. And he did. He did not start in New York. He went to a place called Clarksburg, West Virginia. And then from there, then he moved eventually to New York, met my mom, and that was it. My mom was a teacher for 41 years. She was a wonderful, very tough lady, wonderful lady. You had to do whatever she would say. She lived to be 98 years old. Amazing. And up until a few months before she died, she was still the boss of the house and the family.
Of course.
All right?
It's a mama.
Mama.
Mama was born in Italy? Mama was born in Italy?
Yes, also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which part of Italy?
Calabria.
Oh.
One of the most beautiful places in the world, I believe. It's not really appreciated that much, but you should go and see it.
Definitely. Yeah. Italy is my heart.
That is correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have enjoyed Italy, am I right? You have been there.
I lived there 9 months before coming to America.
That's wonderful.
And I fell in love with the country, and I've been to Vatican, the city of Vatican.
It's very easy to, naturally, later on, I was sent to Rome for my, for my theology years. I defended my first doctorate dissertation when I was 23 years old, and then later on, the providence of God wanted me to be called first to Washington, like part of the diplomatic corps of the Holy See, the Vatican, and then I was called back to Rome, and I was in the Vatican for 26 years. So it was kind of, Italy to me is like my second home, let me put it that way.
Oh. Monsignor, what made you, what inspired you to become a priest?
Yeah, this is really interesting because I have a beautiful story, and it was actually the providence of God that wanted me to follow whatever inspiration I was getting. And I'll tell you why, because I was working in a place called, I'm sure that you heard about Broadway, at one point. And I was 18 years old, I had finished college, and I wanted to do something for to follow that kind of path. But God had another plan. And sure enough, I would like to remember, and recall those, when during the summer months in New York is very hot, am I right?
Yes.
and so I used to stay in between shows. I would sit down in a small church. I not because there was no air conditioning in those days, am I right? Yes. But it was cooler than outside. And then I would see this old, ancient priest walking from the back of the altar to get a sandwich and back. So when you're young, you're so enthusiastic about what you do and so on and so forth. I said, Father, I can go and get the sandwich for you. He said, well, no, I've been doing this for a long time, so it's no problem. By the way, I have to tell you, the old priest said, I am going to retire next week, and I'm going to tell my superior, the cardinal, that this church is going to be closed. I want you to know, because actually no one was in church. I was the only one. I was not there to pray. I was there just to cool off, so to speak. And that was something that really impressed me so much about this priest. And I said, well, whatever. But then when he told me that he was going to see his boss, I said, well, I can drive you. I was so proud of the fact that I had just gotten my license to drive,
Yes.
you know, and I had an old dilapidated car, you know, but I was so proud of it. And I said, I'll try. So that was the beginning, like an inspiration that came from that old, I never knew the name. That's why I say this is providential that I'm here today as a priest.
From
it's
above.
Incredible.
Yes.
God had planned all this. And I never knew the name of the priest. I don't remember if there was a name for the church. Just think about it.
Yes.
That goes to show you how important it is to follow the inspiration that you were saying, that you get from God. Yes. Let your plans kind of aside and follow whatever God wants you to do.
Amen.
That would be the best.
Yes. Monsignor, I know that you had very prominent people in your life that were
Yes.
deeply, dearly close to your heart.
Very.
Your spirit.
Yes.
And three names that came to my Fulton, Sheen,
Yes.
Jean Paul II, and Mother Teresa.
Oh my.
Can you please tell us a little bit about it?
My dear Tatiana, I have to tell you that I can talk about these three people and my relationship with them until tomorrow morning.
Please do.
You know,
We have all the day in the world.
So, but yes, let me start with my mentor and friend. I wrote the book on Bishop Sheen, my mentor and friend. Fulton J. Sheen, my mentor and friend. Sure enough, he was my mentor. And he was definitely my friend. So much so that I am very proud to tell you that I own over 100 handwritten letters that he wrote to me while I was in Rome, and he was in Rochester as bishop, and later on, until he died. I have a letter probably from a month before, handwritten by him, by this great man. As you do know, Bishop Fulton J. Sheen was an icon. You know,
Yes,
in '52, the Time cover was for him. He was, to me, one of the great, if not the greatest communicator. Billy Graham, when he came at his funeral, he said, Monsignor, I have to tell you, he was the greatest communicator of the 20th century, Billy Graham, just to give you an idea. Yes. So he was so natural, he was so spontaneous, even though he had a radio show before, but then when the television came in, well, they figured that would be it, you know, kind of unbelievable, you know, and he started. We had a small audience of 40 million people, 10,000 letters a week.
Amazing.
I had 61 secretaries to respond to all those letters because he wanted those letters to be answered to.
Yes.
Most of them would say, well, I liked your show. And the most beautiful thing is this, that our audience was 40% Catholic, 30% Protestant, and 30% Jewish.
Wow.
It was an incredible thing.
Amazing.
It never happened before, never happened afterwards. You know, we're talking about for 11 years. By the way, he wrote 72 bestsellers.
Oh my God.
What an exception.
I would love
if
to
you
read.
would see some of the videos from his old television shows, you know, even today, young people, I just yesterday, I received actually several messages from a wonderful young priest in Rome who is so taken by the writings translated in Italian, you know, of Fulton J. Sheen in the show, that he's always quoting them to me. Oh. The same thing happened in Africa. When I was in the Ivory Coast, young priests would come to me when they would find out that I was the secretary of Bishop Fulton J. Sheen. That was an incredible thing. So what I mean is that's just a glimpse of what was my life living with him was an
It's amazing.
exceptional experience, because we would have all these kind of stars coming, you know, just for lunch or for dinner or whatever in those days, and I would meet them. I'm a young kind of priest, you know, trying to get as much as my first lunch actually with Bishop Sheen at 109 East 38th Street, where we lived. You know, who was there but somebody by the name of Salvador Dali and his wife. That goes to show you. I mean, we're talking about, and that was the beginning. As we went on, I lived with him for over 5 years, and I have been working for him during the Second Vatican Council. So there was a lot I could tell you about Fulton J. Sheen, and you mentioned John Paul II.
Oh, yes.
You know, it's interesting how actually we met the first time when we were rather young, the two of us. I was at the Second Vatican Council. I was like the expert for the Bishop Sheen and the American bishops there. And then all of a sudden this young bishop just made an auxiliary bishop of Krakow, comes from Poland. But he wanted to speak English, so we started, you know, a kind of friendship that went on for years, actually. Who would ever think that on the 16th of October, 1978, I am in St. Peter's Square with everybody else, and then I hear the new Pope's name, Karol Wojtyła. For heaven's sake. I said, from now on, I have to call him Your Holiness. It's interesting that after that, even a couple of months that he was Pope, his secretary called and he said, the Pope is coming to your office, to my office. I was already working in the Vatican, naturally, at that time. I said, you better remind him that now he's Pope. And the secretary said, because he's Pope, you can't tell him anything anymore. He's coming. And that was it. You know, I have beautiful pictures, you know. We had this great relationship. You know, he was a holy man, and I would always kind of listen to him, because whatever he would say would be a great lesson, a great experience, and a great, you know, kind of teaching on his part. And I would try to get as much as I could from him. No, we had this great relationship. And naturally, even though I was here already, because I was pastor in this church, when he died, I decided to go to the funeral. And for 3 days, I was just there 3 days. And I came back on time, because the funeral was on Friday, but then on Saturday, 5 p.m. here in this church, I was celebrating my 50 years as a priest. Oh, okay. So everybody was waiting to celebrate, so I had to be back. And that was really one of my most beautiful moments, you know, when I saw him leave, and I knew, to me, this is really interesting to note, these people that I have dealt with in my life, they were saints to me. You know, while they were alive, naturally I expect the official word of the church saying that they are saints and whatever, like we did with John Paul II, and we hope for Fulton J. Sheen. Yes. And we did another friend of mine, my Mother Teresa. We did a lot of things together, and I believe that we have so much to learn from her. You know, the dedication that she gave, not only yes, to the marginalized, naturally, to the poor, to the homeless, but especially to the people she would meet. She would always have that kind of a smile, and we did a lot of things together. I do have to tell you that she was tough, like all great saints. Yes. She was really tough. However, I I knew that whatever she would say had to be done, and I did. I said Mass for the Sisters of Mother Teresa, the Missionaries of Charity, while I was in Rome. Every Wednesday morning at 6:30, I would say Mass at the Casa Dono di Maria, which is near the Vatican. And at 6:30 every Saturday, I would go to that, like the headquarters, so to speak, in Rome of the Missionaries of Charities, and say Mass for the sisters there at San Gregorio al Celio. How beautiful that is.
It's gorgeous.
So, as I said, these people were saints while they lived and worked, and I worked with them on this earth. So, naturally, we expected to see Fulton J. Sheen, a blessed and a saint, but I do believe that he knows already that he's a saint, and I have seen their intercession. This is very important in my life, because my life, at one point, I had a very, difficult moments in my life, and they were there with their intercession. They were already in heaven.
Yes.
They were thinking, praying, and doing for me whatever was needed to be done.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. It's like I have to say to me, and I speak from my heart, you are living saint.
No.
Yes,
no.
you are.
No, but
I'm serious.
But we try to do, if we do God's will,
yes,
we're already saints. I believe, you see, my dear Tatiana, I have to tell you something. In the creed, when we say the creed, we say, I believe in the communion of saints. Now, we always think of saints, of those who are in heaven, but they're not the only ones. Those are what we call the triumphant church. They're already there, okay? But then you have the people that would like to get, and they have to be purified, and that's what we have in purgatory. But we are also saints on this earth. Yes. While we're here. Why? Because we are trying our best to do God's will, and eventually we will be saints in heaven.
Yes, thank you. Monsignor, I'm holding this book. I actually holding on to it because you just signed it for me.
Yes.
And we already, Sasha and I, own another book signed by you, but they both very special. And
6 popes. These are the 6 popes that I served, but together with these popes, there are so many other memories. It's interesting that I think it's very easy to read.
Yes.
And that's why it was #1 on the Amazon list of new releases.
I think it still is.
Incredible, because I not long ago I got a one of the many, emails that I get about the book, and there was this lady journalist from, can you imagine, Cape Town in South Africa.
Oh.
And she was telling me, she said, well, Monsignor, I never met you. I don't think I will ever meet you, but I already know who you are from this book. So it's easy to read.
I read a little bit. It's amazing. Really, I couldn't stop reading, but we were on the way here. I said, I have to stop. And the photographs
yes.
inside is just so much history, so much, it's amazing.
Yes. That's amazing. Personal also. You have
yes.
a personal history.
Yes.
And it's
I think
so
everybody should read it. It doesn't matter what religion the person has.
Oh, no.
It's more about the goodness. And
right. That's what counts.
Monsignor, about the goodness, can you tell me a little bit about, I know you have a very strong point on today, on our children, because they're today. Please.
Yes. I'll tell you, this is really incredible. I feel that we have to encourage our young generation. It kind of, perhaps we did in the past, some mistakes. we don't want them to follow those kind of mistakes. There is a new way of approaching the world and the problems of the world today. And we have to tell them. And I'm so happy to tell you that I don't know how, but I have a mass that I say in a beautiful parish downtown in Manhattan on Sunday. There's a 5 p.m. mass. At the beginning, 11 years ago was not really, but now it's really filled with people, and most of them are young adults.
Yes.
Can you imagine 80% of young adults? And it's interesting how at the end of the Mass, I always greet them, and some of them make comments on whatever I have said. I'm trying in my homilies to be down to earth, and that's what I learned from Bishop Fulton J. Sheen, the great communicator, am I right?
Yes.
Not only down to earth, but understand how important it is in this world of ours. Whatever is part of our history is the history that eventually we will make for the future. So we have to communicate this to the young people. And the young people will definitely follow whatever, we hope and pray that the good Lord will inspire them to do. Some of those young people that come to that Mass, they send me even emails. Beautiful.
What do you what do you want God to tell you?
Oh, this is really a great teaching that I got from my mentor and friend. I have to tell you, I feel that we, as you do know, you were baptized, I was baptized. So on the day of our baptism, we were given a title, which is so important. We were called the children of God. Now, if I have a father, I am entitled to the heritage that Father will give me. Am I right?
Sorry, it's very
emotional. As a child of God, I am entitled to eternity. So whatever is here on this earth is just a passing time. Eventually, we will continue and be eternally in the presence of God. However, I do have to tell you a beautiful thing that Bishop Fulton J. Sheen used to tell me. He said, well, when I go up there, I want to do a few things. First of all, I would like to talk to Aristotle because he was a philosopher at the beginning, Fulton J. Sheen. And I have some questions for him. Then I would like to spend some quality time. There is no time in heaven, but that kind of time with the Blessed Mother, because he was enamored with the Blessed Mother, okay? And then I will ask God Almighty, I said, don't you have anything for me to do? That was Fulton J. Sheen. And he used to tell me, I do hope and pray that when I will be called up there, the Lord the judge, as you were saying, will call me, will say, hey, come, because my mother has spoken so well about you. Isn't that beautiful?
It's so beautiful.
That's all it counts. And I know that the Blessed Mother will be there to welcome us for eternity. This is just a transient way of getting to what we expect to have, namely the reward for eternal life.
Monsignor Franco, thank you so much.
God love you, my dear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we love you. And God, of course.
Thank
God
you.
and you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.